Okay, so today we're going to be taking a look at video game addiction. Video games have been such an addiction that we're going to take a look at how these video games become to make us have an addiction, or what they put in to keep you interested in the game. We're also going to be taking a look at how video games have impacted people's lives and how the addiction has taken over their lives and some things. So let's get started. So, video games oftentimes will throw in a lot of things to keep us in check, keep us wanting to play. The biggest one is reward. They want us to stay. So, for example, like Call of Duty, you kill people, you're going to gain that XP. You're going to keep rising and gaining that XP. You're going to stay there. Fortnite, you kill people, you're trying to be the last man standing. That's a reward. Another reward is the ability to continue to gain certain, like money. Money's another thing that they're going to, like, being able to complete a lot of the games out there. It's basically the biggest thing that they're going to do is put rewards in those games. Remember how I said that Call of Duty and Fortnite, Battle Royales, a lot of times Battle Royales are the biggest reward is being the last man standing by killing people. Now, mine is Tetris 99. If you put it that way, Tetris 99 is totally different. It's not killing people, but it's more of trying to get better at placing blocks and putting things where they need to go, like in traditional Tetris. But other games that typically have a lot of risk and rewards are, like those puzzle games, like a puzzle game. The Room, specifically, go check The Room out on Steam. It's a game that basically creates puzzles, but it's trying to be able to find all this puzzle. When you complete a puzzle, you've got that reward. It's hooked you because you want to be able to finish the game. A lot of companies want you to be able to stay for a long time. Final Fantasy. A lot of times, you're actually gaining rewards by killing monsters, by doing a lot of turn-based battles in older style games. MMOs. The biggest thing that MMOs are going to do is they're going to hook you on getting kills quickly, like in Final Fantasy XIV. It's a great game, and it really sets up to be a great game out in its own self. A lot of times we see that The Sims are going to have that reward in the way of having a job, basically making sure that you're getting money through that job and making sure that you can be able to build that house, be able to support that family. But also, The Sims also can keep you engaged, is the way that you can control a human being, be God in the game. A lot of games, not only what I mentioned, all have something to keep you hooked. A lot of mobile games are free to play, and they're going to hook you. Basically, like freemium games, basically, is another term. We're going to be now shifting over and taking a look at video games addiction stories. Stories that people have fallen victim to being video games. Now, I'm not going to say anybody's names or anything, except for the CBC one that we'll be taking a look at the story. We're taking a look at why taking a look at that story, and we're also going to be taking a look at some other stories that Review Tech USA has put out. And they're going to, and if you guys want to check those out, you guys can go check them out on YouTube. I'll have the links down in the description. So let's get right into it. Video games addiction for this couple was playing The Sims, and they were playing it at a cafe. I'm not for sure if it was an internet cafe. I'm not for sure if it was just at a cafe. They had a kid. They were taking care of. Oh, sorry guys, I'm very yawny today. But they've taken video games, have not necessarily been taken into consideration. They were more or less being confined to playing The Sims and taking care of their little baby. In The Sims, mind you, when they fully well knew that the video game that they had to take that they took care of their virtual child, or they realized that they had to take care of their actual child in real life, but they decided to take care of the in-game child, and the real game child died. And if they would have probably gone to jail for it. I don't remember exactly the complete story, but you guys can go double check through Review Tech USA if you want to. There was also another story that Review Tech USA has put out that also follows the same lines that video games are addicting because this kid was basically would go to an internet cafe and play for 2 hours. Not 2 hours, 2 days. And he would basically sit there and play video games for, all that time. But his mom would always have to, you know that he has an addiction to video games. Because he sits there for two days, and his mom has to come in and feed him because he's playing the video games. It's ridiculous that your parents have to take care of your addiction. And it's like, no. It really shocks me that your parents have to come in and take care of your kid. Okay? For myself, just sitting there for 24 hours playing a video game, I was doing it for kids, mind you. It's still, I can't fathom playing video games for 2 days, let alone 24 hours. But it's more or less the fact that the kid should have really been focused more heavily on his schoolwork. Should have been more focused. We don't know the story if he's 18, if he's old enough to support himself. If he is old enough to support himself, his mom shouldn't have to go in and take care of him. Same with this couple. They chose to take care of their in-game child in The Sims, and they chose to lose that real-world child because they were more engorged or engrossed into the game. Put it that way, engrossed into the game to the point that they were so focused that they didn't realize things that were happening around in real life. There was also, but this next one isn't really necessarily focused on heavily on necessarily the engrossed of losing somebody or the purpose of having someone taking care of you. This was a single lady living in China who would go to work, come home, and she would sit down and play on her phone. And she'd play on it for 7-8 hours a day. But on top of her desk job that probably was sitting at the computer, she was going blind in one of her eyes. I can't remember if it was her left or right. Right, but she was going blind. And she was I think 25, maybe 26. And it's like, what? Okay, so that tells me that she had an addiction to playing on her phone, playing video games on her phone, mind you. But it can happen to any one of us sitting down here playing video games for all long hours and long places. But there's also another interesting story that we're going to be taking a look at, the CBC. Now, I'm going to get that video file up here in a second, but as I get this video file set up and ready to go, the thing that inspires us in video games is the reason why video games are so addicting is like, I did a paper. Well, I'm well versed in the topic because I really researched this in the terms of a lot of interesting things, like I had an addiction. I know I have an addiction to video games, but do I have an addiction to the extent of sitting down, losing somebody's life because of it? Do I have an addiction because I lost, times it's like, there's always an addiction out there somewhere. And it's like, out there, it's like extensive to be one of the most experienced video games are here to stay. And a lot of people want to get rid of those video games, want to really want to focus heavily on those video games because companies want to engross you into it, like loot boxes. Loot boxes is another way that they're going to continue to keep engrossing you. I've gone to say that not only did these two guys have a video game addiction, there was I was watching a episode of Dr. Phil where this kid would sit down and play Fortnite, play these M-rated related games. They would have, this thing that the Dr. Phil, like, this kid would sit down and play a lot of video games. He was sitting there bossing his parents around, He was telling his mom that, bring my food in here, you slave, or whatever. It's really sad that these kids have to really pay close attention to their games more than their parents, He has an addiction. As an addiction to the games because he's basically allowing his parents are allowing him to play Grand Theft Auto at age 12. I play Grand Theft Auto now. I didn't play Grand Theft Auto until 6 months before I turned 18. I didn't play a lot of M-rated games as a child. The only M-rated game I think I played as a child was Diablo. And that was because mom and dad never really let me have a lot of M-rated games as a kid. I played some teen-rated games as a kid, but wasn't to the extent of that I would go out and boss my parents around, There's a few times where I did that, but that wasn't because I was the boss. It was just because I was really trying to find a way to save points and my mom wouldn't let me save. Or, and things like that. But let's take a look at this CBC video, and we'll let you guys see how the video has taken necessarily by storm. Okay? Hold on. I don't know why it's not showing up. Let's do this. I'm going to take, and we're going to just use a video capture from OBS here. Let's try game capture here and see if that'll change anything. Okay, so no. So here's what we're going to do. Is we're just going to do a display cap. I'm gotta get things set up here, so it's gonna take me a little time. Let's just do the display capture. You guys are probably going to see that I am using OBS to the extent, but we are going to basically all we're going to do is we're just going to go over here and let you guys listen to this gaming addiction CBC thing. Now, once we get this thing done, we will take a look at how is this guy really having an addiction, or is it just a different kind of an addiction? Let's take a look. Alright, so as you guys saw, that video that we tend to, some of us tend to, as you saw, is that we tend to, you go to the internet cafe, because a lot of times, at home, the parents may get rid of a growing thing of getting rid of our tablets, our devices. But a lot of us, for some of us, we don't have access to an internet cafe. That was in Canada, in Vancouver. But in the United States, we don't have a lot of internet cafes like we do in the rest of the world. Because we don't see a lot of internet cafes here, because we all have very good internet to access. But as you saw in the video, it's like a lot of kids are bullied in regular school. They tend to want to be social, but they can't be because they want to be able to have friends. And so they tend to lead to go into video games. They tend to do a lot of things that, that they wouldn't otherwise do while they're sitting at school being bullied. Because, I was bullied when I was pretty young, and I didn't have the opportunity to go to an internet cafe. I didn't have the opportunity to go to the news places. I was bullied because I had no way, but I focused on staying away from the bullies because, you know, I'm getting off topic here, but it's more or less that the bullies in school, it's like, but do you think that it's that this guy has a video game addiction? No. Does he do his schoolwork in school? Probably. He probably does a lot of that. He aims to go to college next year. Depends on when this video was released, because I will put a link down there where I got the I'll put a link down there where I did get the video from, so that you guys can kind of understand why. Is video game addiction here to stay? Yes, it is. It's not. It's an ever-growing process. Video games are going to... Addictions for video games are there. It's true. We do have it. It's not a full exception. Our parents may think that we have a video game addiction sitting here playing our video games 24/7. Some of our parents know that we're sitting down here playing video games because they played video games when they were a kid, when they were our age, maybe. It depends. Depends on how old they are. Some of us who know that 20 years from now, when we, as us kids or us young adults, 20 years from now, we'll see our kids playing, a lot of video games. We'll see them enjoying them. We will see a growing number of gaming addictions because the video games are here to stay and they're going to be out and expensive. Now, I hope you guys did enjoy this video on video game addiction. That these video games tend to keep us hooked. Okay? That there's a lot of people out there that have had these video game addictions. That they are there and they're well informed for us to be part of it. Now, over here on this video and this video, there's going to be two videos that YouTube thinks, or that I think that you might like. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Please do hit that like button if you did enjoy this video. Please hit subscribe if you really want to stay up to date with Gaming Matty Rocks, and hit that bell notification so you can always get that notifications pushed to you, and always being able to stay up to date even more